are listening to the most original talk radio station anywhere. We are LA Talk Radio at latalkradio.com.
You're listening to Peace Fund Radio with Adrian Paul and Ethan Dettenmaier, right here on LA Talk Radio.
It's a beautiful day here in Los Angeles. Well, actually, it's getting a little cold, chilly, although it's not as chilly as Calgary was. Hello, Ethan. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good.
How was Calgary? You want to share with us?
It was actually very funny because I met a couple of people. I'm actually going to be working on a film this week called Men vs. Monsters, and Lance Henriksen was up there. He's on the film as well as Roddy McDowall and Armando Santi and a couple of other great,
How's Armando work with?
I don't know. I've never worked with him.
Neither have I. That's why I'm curious.
No.
He's one of the few I haven't met.
No, I'd like to. This could be fun because we're all sitting around. Well, anyway, I can't tell you anything. Anyway, but you know how it is. Anyway, but the weather was really weird because we got up there and it was 80 degrees in Los Angeles, and we get up to Calgary and it's down to about 55, 60. And the next day it was down to minus. It was actually below freezing.
Wow!
And it started snowing all day. So it was very, very odd. And the following day, it was back up, nice sunny day again. So I don't know. But you have something this morning that you were saying to me. By the way, everybody, we have not been able to put any music out for the past few weeks.
Well, we have. We've had some musical issues. It's not. We have used certain things. It's not entirely. The other fact of the matter is, quite frankly, is it's more interesting to hear you talk sometimes.
My dulcet tones do not please everybody. Anyway, but you said we got to bring you a treat because Ethan this morning is very excited to actually receive a CD this morning, weren't you? Which is something that not a lot of people actually get anymore.
Yeah, I don't get it very much, but this is a CD actually. On the show I produce Fridays, Combat Radio, we have a regular group that visits us from time to time, and it's a band called the International Swingers, and if you Google that, a bunch of crazy stuff comes up. So I would say go to internationalswingers.com, but the reason I'm plugging them is because they've done a lot of charity work with us. I hope to get them to do some charity work with you. They've donated a song to the Christmas album we're doing on Combat Radio to help us with our effort with the homeless kids, but it's made up of Glenn Matlock, who is with the Sex Pistols, James Stevenson, who's with the Cult and the Alarm, and Generation X with Billy Idol, Clem Burke, who's the drummer for Blondie, the Eurythmics, the Ramones, and Gary Twin. So it's actually kind of an all-star group.
We're actually right now in the process of putting out a CD. There's a lot of different songs on it.
Really?
Maybe we could get them to donate one of those songs.
Yeah, probably. I mean, they just donated one to us for our Christmas CD, so I'm sure they'd be open for it, and I'll see them actually day after tomorrow. They're going to come back, and when they're in town, they're British.
Of course.
So
I have to have a chat with them.
Yeah. So
anyway, so come on, let's hear this song because I'm deprived of music these days on this show.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to play something. Now, I want to warn everyone, it's just an advanced CD, and it's not labeled. So I'm going to try to pick one of the tracks that I know are suitable for the rather sophisticated, elegant, and highly intelligent Peace Fund radio listeners. So I'll play something, and if it seems like it's going south, I may cut it.
Well, let's just hear a portion of it. Let's get going.
All right, here we go. Let's try this.
I'm banging my head to that one.
All right, there's
actually,
a little something.
That's kind of cool, man. And it actually runs nicely into what we're going to be talking about this morning, which is education. I know that sounds really weird, but education and the summer slide, we're calling it, because it's when we think about summer, everybody's like, summer, it's great. We're going to get some time off. It's going to be great. But a lot of people don't realize, you have memories of summer camps, of swimming, of arts and crafts, of games in the outdoors and recreational activities, all that lovely stuff. But the reality is many children, particularly those from low-income families, these types of summers can be educationally detrimental. And for families in which both parents work, summers are a logistical nightmare. And I can't even imagine that, because I know I have 2 kids and we juggle things all the time when my wife has to do something, and she's not working full-time right now. So working class moms in urban neighborhoods, these are exactly the kind of parents whose kids tend to have the most problems in school, because it's a nearly impossible situation as in a summer vacation. It's a disaster, actually, for the kids and for the parents, because it creates a massive avoidable inequities in life incomes and seriously undereducating the population. There's a double effect. Summertime actually represents a loss of academic progress, reduces access to nutritional food, and reduction in physical activity opportunities. So I want to talk about each one of those things this morning. When we're talking about academic progress, I mean, do you take your kid out of school, don't you, Ethan?
I do take my kid out of school.
So, does it cause a strain on how you spend the summer months?
Are you talking about, do I take my kid out of school for the summer, or do I take
for the summer?
She has a summer break. No, it's not a strain. I mean, should it be a strain? I mean, I'm not sure what I'm being asked.
Well, the thing is that, is it a strain on her education? Because what they found is, I was actually looking at some of the stuff here. For some kids, during the school year, disadvantaged kids manage to catch up somewhat on more advantaged students, because they're there every day. They're working more often in the day to actually do that. But during the summer, they lose those gains because their parents can afford to arrange summer activities for them to move for, whereas these poor kids, they can't do that. And this persistent achievement gap among children only leads to economic and social gaps that continue into adulthood. So it's a process that starts at a young age.
Would you suggest year-round school? Because some districts are year-round.
That's where I'm actually going. There are a couple of educational systems, and I was looking at them this morning. I believe New York is one of them. I'm just pulling up the data now. And I know that Los Angeles is going to be doing. They're actually extending the school year by adding more days and by adding the percentage of teachers that I'm just trying to look at this information here.
Extending the school year.
Extending the school year. They actually extend the school year. I have
a counterpoint to that, if I can share real quick.
Go ahead.
I'm pretty involved with my kids' school. I'm a volunteer there some days. And, they had moved the startup to her school to the middle of August, which is unusual for me because I didn't start till after Labor Day when I was young. And it goes till about mid-June. But in between now, there's all these almost fabricated holidays. There's 3 weeks off for Christmas. There's 2 weeks off for Easter. There's a week for which I actually kind of like because I love spending time with my kid, and so long as her grades are good, I even take her out a couple times.
Right.
Do whatever she'd like to do if her grades are up to par. But a lot of times the argument I get from the administration there is that, for budget reasons in the state of California, we have to start the year here in order to get X amount of dollars, and we have to give these days off. Really kind of strenuous budget concerns in which I think a lot of these teachers and administrators are working under.
Well, it's funny because I found the article that I was looking for. There's a researcher at Johns Hopkins University, a guy called Carl Alexander, has done extensive work into the setbacks for kids without summer educational opportunities. And what he found confirms the problem. Lower-end kids are pretty well keeping up in test score gains during the year while they're falling behind during the summer months. Now, these type of findings have propelled advocates to change the school calendar and improve summer opportunities for low-income kids. So how are they doing that? A number of schools have already adjusted their calendars. This summer, Iowa's done. It's expanding the learning time in 3 school districts. New York announced a plan to increase the school day by 2.5 hours in 20 schools, and Los Angeles is moving forward with a similar plan. And then there's Phoenix. They extended the school year to 200 days, paying teachers 9% more to work the additional days. Since you got a longer year, the proficiency rates on state tests has risen, failure rates have fallen, and the achievement gap has disappeared, or is disappearing, should I say?
That's interesting. I have no doubt that that's true, but maybe it's because I have several learning disorders and social disorders I have to overcome each day to function normally. It's like, I think, for me personally, I don't know if more school would be the answer for me, like a longer school day. Mm-hmm. I think it comes down to teachers, and in some ways, how were you, Adrian, if your math class was an hour versus if it was, say, 40 minutes?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's depending on what the kid likes to do.
It really does
depend on that, yeah.
So what you're saying is accurate, no doubt. But for some of us, it's almost like, wow, we're going to be here till 4.
But again, the thing is, what you're looking at is 2 different situations. When you're living in an area where you have a very poor income, you have absolutely nothing to do. You've either got the choice to go home and spend it running the streets and being pressured by gangs and other things.
That I agree with. I see that.
Staying in school, you may have a better time. It may be safer for you as a kid. I don't know, because I never came from that background. I came from a middle-class background, not a lower-income background. So I didn't have those obstacles put in front of me. And I don't. Did you? I mean,
no, I was middle-class too, but my daughter's school is open till 6. There's like an after-school daycare, physical fitness program, and a lot of those kids in it are there just because their parents work and can't get to them.
Well, there's, my friend Kevin Sorbo, came on, and I'd love to have him back on again. They have an after-school program which actually keeps kids in schools to teach them these things. But this is what they're talking about here, exactly this. That when you have summer vacations, what do you do with your kid? Do you send her to a summer camp? Do you give her swimming lessons? Do you take her anywhere? Does she just run the streets? What does she do?
Well, she doesn't run the streets. We usually take her out of town. We do a combination of other things. It's pretty adventurous for us. You've just said it. Taking her out of town costs money. Well, I mean, we don't just do that. I mean, we take her out of town for a very small percentage of it. But, I mean, she'll do swimming or, whatever day-to-day things we can do to get the most out of our day, we tend to do.
Right, but these are the curriculums we're talking about that we can do in summer. We can actually put our kids into school because we've been privileged to be put into that type of position. But a lot of families don't have that opportunity.
Right.
And that's what they're saying. They're saying, by doing that, what does a kid do? Because they lose the attention span that they had in school because they're not given these other opportunities like going swimming, like being taken out of town.
So do you think we should expand, maybe go to year-round? It seems like the kids I know that are in year-round school, though, they have like these big gaps in their year, too.
That's, I think, the idea is to try and adjust, like instead of giving them a 2-month vacation. What's the vacation? Usually end of July to the beginning of September.
Well, it was when I was a kid, like 90 days or thereabouts. But it's much shorter now. I think my daughter's got 8 weeks.
It's still 2 months.
Yeah.
That's still 2 months. So would you, as a parent, and all you guys out there, as a parent who works, are you part of a 2-person family who has to both parents work? Would it be easier for you to spend 1 day a week throughout the entire year where your kid is not at school, but they're at school the entire year, or would it be easier to actually spend 2-week period in summer? A 2-month period in summer that the kid takes off. So again, what would you say, Ethan? I mean, that's.
I'm probably not the best guy to answer that.
Well, let's see if there's John Beerley. Maybe he
let's bring.
Although John Beerley doesn't have any kids, but I'm kind of curious.
No, but he's smart. He's a smart guy.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have kids, so I'm really poorly qualified to answer this question. I do think that the more our kids are in school, the better, and I think the fewer gaps between sessions of school probably the better. But I know that it is difficult for parents to find suitable and adequate care for their kids while they're out of school. I mean, that's always going to be an issue. So right. I don't know. There's a lot to it that as a parent I'm not particularly qualified to answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because it also doesn't just stay in. We're talking about learning right now. Education obviously is, where we're focusing, but this also affects absolutely everything else, like nutrition and physical fitness. A lot of kids, like we said, go to summer camps. They're doing physical activities all the time that are paid for or by their parents. Sometimes schools take them, but eventually the parents pay for it anyhow. But, the children who risk at losing academic ground over the summer also risk at losing physical fitness and healthy eating opportunities because a lot of them don't eat healthy at home. The only food they get is at school.
Well, that's where I need to bring it back to the school lunches that you've covered so specifically in episodes past, because I don't know what, if any, nutritional requirements are met through a school lunch these days, with the exception of milk.
That is true.
So I think that your problem, honestly, you're on target with this, but the whole school setup needs just such a major shakedown from top to bottom.
Have you seen that? This chef Jamie Oliver?
Yeah. Oh,
right.
Don't yeah.
So Jamie Oliver did this in schools. In England. He did it. He went back to schools in England. Sorry, I'm eating now. I'm eating. That's what happens.
What are you eating?
I'm actually eating a protein bar.
Yeah,
I eat my protein in the morning.
Yeah, see, that's probably
anyway.
More protein in that bar than a kid gets all day at school.
Well, that's true. Maybe we should distribute them. But Jamie Oliver basically said, look, what you give kids at home is what they're going to sort of expect at school. You give them pizza, they want pizza. This is, I know my daughter loves my pasta, but it's not the best pasta in the world, but she loves my pasta because I made it, and it's they're used to that.
That's one person anyway.
There's one person that likes my pasta.
But what I was going to say is, I don't know how many. It's not the old days with me. At my kids' school, public school, lots of kids. When I was a kid, we had a cafeteria that had dozens of options. You can go in there and get anything you wanted almost. Right. It was almost like a college cafeteria. My kid doesn't have that. You have two choices.
That's true.
And bang, it's one or the other.
That's the point, going back to Jamie Oliver, what I was talking about there. He went into schools and basically said, look, you can give your kids healthy choices, and it won't be that hard to change them to do it. Right now, they're so ingrained into what they're eating. And eventually he proved the point in England. When they tried to do the show in America, they took them into schools, but it wasn't the kids the kids were rebelling. They go, I want my, I want my taters, I want my whatever. But it was the actual school cafeteria staff that were against him, saying, I've given this to the kids for so long, why do we need to change anything?
Right.
And that's, so it's an adult mentality that's to change, not necessarily the kids' mentality.
I have two questions. Is he banned in the United States?
I'm not sure.
I heard he was, but that doesn't sound real. But I heard he was, probably for behavior. It doesn't. I mean, anyway, for things just like this, where he went up to like McDonald's and found out that it was basically 90% apple cores and cardboard in the something to that equivalent. But
okay, here we go, Ethan. Here we go. It looks like he was banned from a school in Los Angeles. It looks like for bidding for trying to improve children's eating habits in Los Angeles.
How can you get banned for improving kids' eating habits? I mean,
I don't know. I'm not sure who exactly it was. It was that banned him here. We're trying to figure it out. It says. In his own words, he told David Letterman, I was banned from every school in Los Angeles before I even arrived. It's a shame. I really wanted to work with them, but we had to go grassroots and open a kitchen where parents brought their children.
See, to me, it's obviously, and I don't want to bring it back to this, there must be some reason why it's been so put against, should we say.
Well, he's one of those few people that... when the cafeteria lady tells you that French fries are a vegetable, he's going to argue with her.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
And you're right about what you said a moment ago, that a lot of people are stuck in their ways, and they would rather, not admit they're wrong than probably be right.
Well, change is one of the hardest things for us as individuals to actually accept. And it doesn't matter what it is. It's change of house, change of job, change of anything. It's very hard because it's a state of insecurity. And this is the same thing. For you not to be able to give the kids the food you want, therefore you've got to change where you get the food from, the way you cook it, etc. So that's a whole, I don't know whether I can do this. Also, it comes from fear of going, well, I don't understand this food. I don't understand what the color of that food is. I don't understand what the texture of that food is. Therefore, I don't know how to cook it. I don't know how to prepare it. Therefore, why should I go and learn it?
Yeah.
I mean...
I'm 6 weeks away from retirement.
Well, there is that. You might be, actually. I don't know.
Shoot, I wish I was. But I think personally you're right about that, and I think there's so many challenges. There's not obviously the lunch menu isn't going to meet anyone's nutritional needs. There's no art. There's no real physical fitness in my kid's school anymore, except for what the ad hoc programs are put together with volunteers, such as that you and I talked about doing, like bringing pro athletes to a school to work with the kids on a day. Mm-hmm. There's just nothing like it once was. It's a totally new environment, and I think personally you have to look if the budget out of the state is so tight, then I think you need to kind of redirect and break away from what was traditional school timetables and ideas and say, look, this is the 21st century now.
I mean, everything has to change. That we have grown or changed dramatically in the past 25 years.
Yeah.
I mean, the things we do now, the technology that we have has changed. So a lot of things are still stuck in those old ways, and.
And don't you think too that because many of these kids are on these terrible diets that they can't focus, they can't concentrate.
That's exactly
anyway.
it. Yeah, because I mean, look, when in the summer, when kids actually do have decent food in the schools and they are given that, they do concentrate better. But in the summer, when they skip meals or they consume these cheap ones that have no calories and contribute basically to the nation's obesity problem epidemic that we have. So there's a lot of reasons where they actually sit in different places where when mom and dad are at work, they're not supervised like you talked about, Ethan. Taken out of the state to go on a week vacation or going to the summer camp or being sent to the swimming pool or whatever. They just sit there and they just eat bad food. So there's another reason why this school structure is very important to actually really get a grip on. You've got here it says, as with learning opportunities, lower income children are less likely to have access to organised sports activities or lessons over the summer more than middle or upper income kids. And they actually talked about here that there's strong evidence that food insecurity rises during the summer months. The federal summer nutrition programs reach out only to 1 in every 7 low-income children. So these programs, actually only 1 in 7 low-income kids get the schools that they would normally get in the school year. So, like you said, bad health, bad food, and lack of physical activity actually has other consequences. Mm-hmm. There are the hunger facts. Let's go a bit about hunger because we were talking about food. There's 31 million children benefit from the National School Lunch Program.
31 million?
31 million, children benefit from the National School Lunch Program. 62% of whom receive free or reduced priced meals. But only 1 in 6 of these kids will receive a similarly subsidised summer meal during the summer months.
Wow.
So that's 2 months. You're talking about a 2-month vacation. Yeah. So we talk about, okay, you miss a meal, you can do that occasionally, that's not bad. But when you're doing it over a period of 2 months, that has detrimental results over the kids' growing years. 11 million, which is the number of low-income children who receive free or reduced price school breakfast.
I found a comparable study, actually, in an unrelated industry, which was farming in the state of California. Am I throwing you with this?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Where
you always throw me, but that's
40. This hopefully has some point to it, right? If this has, for roughly 40 to sometimes 60% of the apples are left on the trees because they can't get the labor to pick them. Now, I have not had a chance to actually look into the viability of the study, but I'm sure that on some degree it's probably correct. Whether it's that high of a percentage. I'm sure there's some of that in some farming in divisions. Is it possible, and I hate to sound like a director for the Hitler Youth, but is it possible that kids in the summer can probably be
press ganged? Is that what you
press ganged into serious, harsh, almost unsurvivable conditions on a farm where they can harvest
work for your food? It's not a bad idea.
What I'm really saying, before you totally
no, I'm not.
Maybe some sort of realistic sort of cultural farming cross-training program or study program, not so much a labor program, but I mean there'd be some labor, but something where they get involved and they understand this is how a farm works, this is how your food comes from.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea. There was actually, John, remind me that there was one of our heroes of the week that actually took food that was not used, wasn't it? Wasn't there one of the girls that was actually, or did I read about this somewhere else?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, while while we're on that one, even last week, similar to Ethan's idea, there was Joshua Williams of joshuasheart.org, one of the many kids who's involved in his organization. I can't remember if it was Idaho or Iowa, but in his community, he saw that there was this massive pumpkin crop that was basically every year. That's right. Just these pumpkins would go to waste. So he gets together in his community a way for the pumpkins to be made into soup and bread to feed the poor.
Now that's brilliant too, right? I mean, it's simple mathematics. There's not enough labor supposedly in certain farming divisions, and then there's kids here without food.
Right, and then there's another one which I'm going to highlight. The idea of when we get the site up and running, which I keep saying 2 weeks, but we keep running into certain issues. But when we get that, the idea is to bring and give you out there the opportunity to look at different charities out there that are doing like-minded type of programs. One of the ones we just saw, which we've not highlighted, and I don't know if you saw it, John, I think you may have done, was a young girl out of... I want to say the state of New York, out of the East Coast somewhere, where she went around, and she's done this program now for 4 years because she saw how her brother was inspired by recycling. He took all phones and electronic equipment and started recycling, and she decided to do it with fat from food, going to all the restaurants in the area and taking all the oils. And they dump the oil into an area which actually then gives you electricity. It's actually turned into electricity.
Brilliant.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's a great little program. I'll get you information about it. But
yes, please do. And Adrian, the other one that you had mentioned a couple of minutes ago was that's Gabrielle Possard. Her charity is Donate Don't Dump, where it's donatedon'tdump.net. Every month they collect more than 20,000 pounds of surplus and short-dated food that otherwise would end up in a landfill and distributed to families in need. They have so far rescued and distributed over 900,000 pounds of food that otherwise would have just been thrown away.
It's amazing, isn't it? Look
unreal. And her organization's slogan is to engage, empower, and inspire youth to alleviate hunger and help the environment. Because, as Gabrielle says, while this food is sitting in landfills, it's rotting, it's releasing bad gases into the atmosphere, it's causing pollution while it's sitting there rotting. How about instead of letting it get to the point where it rots, how about we get it to people who need it? And that's the amazing thing about what these kids and organizations like this do. They see the problems. They aren't overwhelmed by logistics. They're not overwhelmed by bureaucracies. They just see a problem and they find ways to get it done.
Well, so I'm not a complete brown shirt.
No, you're not. I mean, it's not. Well, not complete. But the number. We're talking about education this morning. People were talking about what it does when you don't have your kids in school during the summer months. And, hunger is one of them, physical activity is another, and the loss of educational progress is probably the most important one. But there are 3 million children who receive meals in the summer when schools are out of session, and reduced price schools aren't available. There are 3 out of 5, that's the number of K-8 public school teachers who say they regularly see students coming to school hungry.
Yeah.
So look at these. The solutions are there. It just we need somebody to start doing like these kids that are doing it in different areas to do that, and then.
Now I have a solution for that when you're done. I'm sorry to
go ahead.
No,
go.
I mean, now we're talking into another aspect that I didn't want to hint on because you can easily create an avalanche of politicking. But you have at my kid's school a barrage of students that arrive late, unprepared. Rushed into school and probably, just like you said, haven't eaten. And I think that's a parenting issue. Parents need to instill some level of motivation in their kid in the morning and say, hey, you're up at this time, you're dressed, you eat, you're at school on time, and you got to actually get the most out of your day. New concept.
That's a great theory.
It never happens.
Some kids, no. It's also that some kids don't want to do that. My daughter says, I don't want to eat that. I don't want to eat this. And you're rushing to get to school. You're up at 7 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock. You've got to get them to school by 8.
I agree.
There's all these things that sometimes so you give them lunch bags, etc. And hopefully within the lunch bag is something relatively healthy that they will actually be able to consume during the day.
I usually say this is it.
Well,
this is today's menu item 1.
Right.
Menu item 2 is air.
Yes, that does work for some kids. Doesn't work for all.
Luckily, I actually do not have to motivate my kid like that. She's usually pretty easy going.
Yeah, my son is like that. My daughter's not. My son will eat virtually anything under the sky.
If a kid's not going to eat at this point, is hunger really the issue? If you've made breakfast, if you've made the oatmeal, you made the eggs, you made the cereal, whatever it may be that morning, and the kid doesn't eat, and then they report to school hungry. What becomes the solution?
Right, the solution, then they have to eat stuff at school because once they really are hungry, they will eat it.
Yeah.
But, you were talking about, what food, lack of food, does on the educational system. When you go in anywhere and you are hungry, I know I am, my focus is off.
Right, of course.
And so you cannot learn or you cannot grasp things, especially if a teacher's talking about algorithms or math or physics. You really think you're going to be concentrating on that? You'd rather be looking at the apple somebody else has.
Let's not give me too much credit. First of all, I never got to math, on the physical or algorithm level. But thank you for the compliment. But how about this? If you're not going to eat, and I want to try your pasta, by the way. I think you should make pasta for all of us.
I am pretty good at pasta, but that's okay.
That remains to be seen, my friend.
No, trust me, I am.
Well, no, I'm not going to trust you because.
We're going to do an Adrian's lunch pasta day. I think.
I think that's a requirement. I think once when we know we got a full slate of guests, we do a catered Adrian's lunch pasta day, and we have a sort of a taste off. We check it out and we have everyone try it. And anyway. But getting back to what you're saying,
we could sell plates of pasta in exchange for a donation to the Peace Fund.
There you go.
That's a good idea.
You know what? What are you going to do? Mail it?
No, but we'll just do
something.
I'll put it in an envelope. I love to cook. I'll make something.
We should just do something locally. We could probably I'm sure we could probably get. Just do something at the park around the corner or something. Just advertise it for a while.
Just go out. I'll bring my barbecue and pot and stuff.
I think that's awesome. I think it'd be awesome if you did that.
All right, let's talk about that later.
Pasta by Paul. I think it's awesome.
Ooh, look at that.
Wow.
Pasta PBB.
Adrian's own.
Yeah, so we could have Adrian Alfredo, Fettuccine Adriano. We could have all kinds of great names. I'm working on this.
Thank you, guys. I think we're moving off the subject here a little bit.
Oh, this is the subject, my friend. This is the
federal government's 2 main programs for feeding low-income kids during the summer Food Service Program and the National School Lunch Program, are effective where they exist. SFSP schools, local YMCAs, parks and recreation departments, churches, and community non-profits to sponsor a site where children come for food as well as enrichment activities that ensure they enter school more at pace with their higher income peers. Schools can also offer children healthy meals and a safe place to play in the summer through NSLP. So check those out, National School Lunch Programs. One of the biggest limitations of it, however, is a shortage of program sites. There are just 34 summer school food sites for every 100 school lunch programs. Summer food sites that are open to any children in the community can currently only operate in areas where 50% or more of the children are eligible for free or reduced price school lunches. This is actually the most restrictive threshold in the program's history and disproportionately hurts rural and suburban communities, which often do not qualify for summer meals because poverty is not as concentrated as in urban areas. So there are some areas this program does not work, and there are some children suffering because of it. Solution. The solution, as we said, is going into try and exchange the school's curriculum year. There are some charities that are make a difference. One is No Kid Hungry, which their mission is no child should grow up hungry in America, but 1 in 5 children struggles with hunger. The No Kid Hungry campaign is the idea to end childhood hunger in America by ensuring all children get the healthy food they need every day. The No Kid Hungry campaign connects kids in need with nutritious food and teaches their families how to cook healthy, affordable meals. Like we talked about, it comes from the parents. You got to educate the parents as well so that they can get taught. But sometimes it's hard to change somebody's previous ways. So that is nokidhungry.org. That's www.nokidhungry.org. Then there's Reading is Fundamental, which is www.rif.org. Reading is Fundamental. It's the largest literacy nonprofit in the United States. Basically, they plant seeds of inspiration into the nation's most vulnerable kids. It's what RIF and a network of more than 400,000 volunteers do. That's a lot of volunteers. I understand you guys do a great job for doing that. Whether in schools, homeless shelters, or community centres, wherever you find a child, RIF volunteers spend countless hours distributing books, staging reading motivational activities, and promoting the importance of literacy in the community. Boys and Girls Club of America is the last one I want to mention, which is bgca.org, www.bgca.org. For more than a century, clubs have helped put young people on the path to great futures. The Boys and Girls Clubs annually serve 4 million young people through membership and community outreach in some 4,000 club facilities throughout the country. So these are organizations that are making a difference out there, and it's very important to actually have those volunteers because, as we know at the Peace Fund, without them, without people giving their time and lending a hand, a lot of other problems would ensue. Now, John, I know you have a hero of the week this week for us.
Yes, I do,
and I think this is a very apt one for this show.
It is. Very quickly, before I get to this week's Hero of the Week, I want to mention one of our previous heroes, Vivienne Har from MakeAStand.com. She's raised $111,000 from her lemonade stand and other fundraisers to battle child slavery around the world. And if you follow Vivienne on Twitter, at Vivienne Har, you will see that Vivienne is one of the leaders in getting the word out right now about this horrifying situation that's going on in Nigeria, where this group of absolute human filth decided that their way to protest education in Africa was to kidnap 230 girls from a school and threaten to sell them as slaves. So this is a horrifying situation that's going on right now, and I think it's awesome that a 10-year-old girl is one of the strongest voices against for getting a resolution done.
Let's speak a little bit about that a minute, John, because that's a horrible situation. They had kidnapped 230 girls, stating that they would put them into slavery unless the schooling system changed. Is that because I've not heard of it?
Yeah. Basically, they want they're furious that these 12 to 15-year-old girls are being educated because they don't think women should be educated. So their solution, their way of protesting it, is to kidnap 230 girls. It's been going on for 3 weeks now, and they're threatening to sell them as slaves.
Right. Okay.
So it's just it's a mess. I think just yesterday, the U.S. was finally allowed by the Nigerian government to send some experts in to try to help with the situation. So hopefully this won't go on much longer. But if you think, these girls have been in a very dire situation for over 3 weeks now. Ugh. And it's just a disaster.
This is what happens when you actually get people in positions where they try and do something. That they're in a desperate situation. People do anything, and you're talking about low income. Okay, Nigeria is one of the places that we don't have a control over, and I can't even imagine what the situation is there in the economy and everything else. It's a very wealthy country in some aspects, but I know there's a lot of poverty there as well.
Yeah, and actually, the guys who took the girls are actually a pretty organized organization, kind of a militant organization that's causing a lot of trouble over there. So, it's heartbreaking stuff. But I do want to get to, as Adrian said, we have a hero of the week this week who is right in line with everything that we're talking about today in regards to education. In sub-Saharan Africa, 1 in 3 adults can't read. 176 million adults are unable to read or write. 47 million kids are illiterate. 21 million adolescents are not in school, and a further 32 million primary-aged children are also not in school in sub-Saharan Africa. Our hero of the week is 19-year-old Priscilla Semphere, who, when she was 17 years old, always interested in reading, always interested in learning about other cultures. But as she read, she started to figure out that most of the books that were available to her were from the rest of the world, but there really weren't that many books that were being created in Africa. So Priscilla started an organization called PenAfrica.org. Now, Pen as in ink pen, you can find them on Facebook and Twitter at PenAfrica. And Priscilla's idea was that she herself would write books based in Africa, and she would get other young poets and other young African writers to write basically African literature to help the children who would read these books learn more about each other, learn more about Africa, and eventually that the rest of the world would follow and learn as well. She says her mission is to promote African literature and make effective use of its market by encouraging the youth to explore African literature and create a platform on which tolerance and a common understanding can thrive. We envision an Africa where African literature is read and celebrated, a continent where people understand and celebrate their differences. We dream of a world that has a better perception of Africa. Now, one of the things that Priscilla herself is doing is she has started a series of books. The first one is available right now. We'll put a link to how you can purchase that on the blog later tonight, where she has a character named Ikari, who is a young Malawi girl who is going to visit every country in Africa, all 54 countries in Africa, over the course of this book series. The first one's available right now, and basically to promote better cultural understanding and cultural pride, and not only getting these children to read, but to get them to want to write and create poetry and prose themselves. So I think it's a very interesting and kind of a unique idea to kind of target her specific culture and find a way to get children to learn more about it, learn more about themselves. And I think it's just really, really exciting. You can read all about it at PenAfrica.org. And Priscilla Semphere, you are our Peace Fund Radio Hero of the Week. And as with many of our other Heroes of the Week recently, she was in New York just last month for the 3.Dash Summit for Global Teen Leaders. And we're also working on getting Priscilla to come on the show very soon to tell us about her book and tell us about the different efforts that she's spearheading in Malawi. It's very incredible work.
It's interesting, John. I remember when we spoke to Sir Roger Moore a couple of weeks back. He said, when I was a child, children should be seen and not heard. But today, kids have to be heard because they are the ones making the difference. And this summit that you're talking about is exactly that. Kids have to be heard because sometimes their ideas knock us out of the park because they find the simplicity in solutions.
They do. Again, and this is a situation where she saw a problem and came up with a unique solution and followed through with it. That's the thing. That's the amazing thing that these kids do, is that they follow through. They're undaunted by, well, gee, that sounds, we say it all the time. It's like, gosh, this sounds difficult. Not sure if I can do that. These kids don't say that. They just think, well, here's the problem. I got an idea. Let's get it done. And they do.
Right.
So inspiring.
Well, I think that's a fantastic organization. Priscilla Semphere, you are Peace Fund Hero of the Week. But as I said, we will be having all these on our site very soon. We will have more information for you to take a look at. But we survive, and one of the things we are going to be working very much on is our social media to actually get people to listen to what we have to say, so that we can actually spread what information we have to a lot of other places around the world and around this country that might not have heard about it. So social media, you guys tweeting and following the Peace Fund and Peace Fund Radio is very important to us. And there's a couple this morning. Jim Good has retweeted some stuff. I know I said this morning I was working with Roddy McDowell. I actually meant Malcolm McDowell. So sorry about that, and thank you, Jim, for pointing that out.
Yeah, and Tyson Sater has been all day long, all episode long, tweeting all of our great links as well.
Yes, thanks, Tyson. I've seen all those lovely things too. So the rest of you, just take a time to tweet, even if you listen to the show after this fact. Take a time to tweet what you think. One of the subjects that might be close to you. So that's very important for us to do. I want to thank, obviously, everybody at the Peace Fund, because we do have our, and I did promise to some of you that listen to my Twitter feed, well, we're going to be actually showing our new Peace Fund paintball logo very shortly for you to kind of have a quick look at it and get your thoughts regarding it. And Ethan is like going, oh, God, you're not going to do that, are you?
That's not the look I had. Come on.
Was it like, oh, I don't like the logo?
That's not the look I had either. You showed me the logo. I didn't have an opinion either way on the logo. It's not. I don't get it. I gave you some logo suggestions, and you chose to ignore them, and that was before we saw this logo. So
no, but okay. We've gone through different people, and anyway, it'll still be an ongoing.
What
process.
Exactly are you saying about my reaction to the logo?
No, I just saw this type of field. I was just like, I wasn't sure.
Well, once you put it out there,
I didn't know if you had some stomach cramps or something, or whether it was actually about the logo.
Once the Pentagon puts the brief out there, then
you mean the Polygon
policy may change.
The Polygon.
When is the event? When are we doing
the event's in November that we're structuring it for. We are looking at getting this. Initial start, which is all our paperwork and our logos, etc., started and set up first, so that we can then start running with a lot of other operational things.
I've decided through some contacts of mine in Coronado with SEAL Team 6, I'm going to put my own team together.
Awesome! So if you're going to put your own team together, I want to hear what charity you're going to be supporting.
Probably Wounded Veterans, if I'm going to use those guys. But make no mistake, we're going to win.
That's nice. Wounded veterans. You go for wounded veterans.
Well, I mean, if you're using a SEAL
guys,
team,
you're going to
use a SEAL team to win a paintball event.
He's not going for the Peace Fund. I can't believe it. He's not going to go for the. I can't believe it. John, what can we do here?
You know what? You're right. Now that you say that, that is a good point.
I just thought I might mention it. But anyway, that's okay. But, we'll structure it. It's okay.
But actually, before the paintball game, when we can win money to make a donation to the Peace Fund, your listeners can donate to the Peace Fund today before the show's even over in the next few minutes.
At thepeacefund.org.
In fact, go make a donation, and maybe you will be picked at random to join our team. And we'll smoke Adrian's guys.
See, this is what we're going to do. The idea is that we can actually get you guys out there to vote for whichever team you want and sponsor them as they go along, which, it could be a couple of bucks, could be $5, could be 10, to different targets. You can actually buy things for them online. We're going to be setting all of that up. And, we're also going to be doing that with our poker event. We're going to be supporting our poker players, which are going to be probably around 200 by the looks of things, and we're setting that event up as well. And not to forget our golf tournament. There's a golf tournament in August. You will find it on our site.
When's that? That's totally new to me.
There you go. It's a golf tournament that actually is parcel. We actually did it last year. You can find it on our site. It was a tournament that is played on the East Coast, and donations or proceeds from that go to two organizations.
Wait a minute.
One of which is the Peace Fund.
You're not playing the golf tournament out here?
No, it's on the East Coast. It was us in conjunction with one of our volunteers who actually heads our volunteers. Actually, now she's working on all the volunteers.
We need to at least do a mini golf contest out here.
Right now we have so much going on that I've got to get all that straight. And next year we'll increase the avenues, and we will get your mini golf thing going, Ethan. But thank you.
It's so demeaning the way you said that.
No, it's your mini golf. I'm not Mini. I'm not Mr. Me.
I see how it is.
You know how it is. It's okay. But thank you, all of you out there that have put your names forward for the Peace Fund. Volunteers. We've gotten some great people, and we're just about to start working with some of you. And also, thanks, John, for bringing us all the information every week.
Thank you.
Awesome, dude. And the Speechley family for making this show possible. Carmel McPherson, Bev Shahara, all you guys out there. Amato, who's now joined us as one of the executive assistants on the fund. And, we have Annie Christie. We have, oh my goodness, we've got all the great people I'm going to be working with on the paintball. Sean McGowan, Kaz Anvar. Kaz has been doing a lot of stuff with us. So, and John Mosby, who's been doing a lot of stuff as well. So thank you, all of you. And all of you out there, we cannot do this without your help. Whether it is physical, spiritual, or by monetary donations.
Mental.
In your case, is absolutely mental. Thank you so much for helping us. And in closing, is a quote from B.B. King. The beautiful thing about learning is that nobody can take it away from you. This is Adrian Paul and Ethan Dettenmaier, and we definitely will see you next week.
You're listening to Peace Fund Radio with Adrian Paul and Ethan Dettenmaier, right here on LA Talk Radio.